Welcome back to another episode of SCOTOMAVILLE. And this time, we're going to take a look at and talk about subtlety. Those little, tiny, very important, but sort of unknown. I think you know, it's from the word subtle, which is something that's really delicate, or precise as to be difficult to analyze. It's complex and yet understated. It's making the use of clever and indirect methods of achieving something. I'm going to give you a whole bunch of examples of things that go on while you're in an Airstream that you might not expect. Like finally getting into such a beautiful rig and it being the magnet for people misunderstanding or misjudging your financial status. In other words, they just jump to the conclusion that you're rich and you're handing out money, so they just show up at the door. I'm just saying, things you may not expect come along with this lifestyle. I would bet that if you thought for a moment about your childhood, you'll recall things that seemed cruel or harsh that you should have learned, like paying attention to the wind and controlling the things you have control over. Now that the wind's blowing, I think I better put this canopy in before something happens. And you'll note that because the sun moves, you'll constantly be babysitting your solar panels. It makes about a 20% difference if you just keep aiming it at the sun and taking the shadows off. One of the things I've done is to hang a gallon of water so that it doesn't allow it to blow over. Because there's so many things to account for when you're packing, so many things to close and double check and latch and be sure that it's still all together. Angelina and I make it a pattern to double check each other's work. In other words, she's constantly doing things like making sure these are even latched, just to cover my behind. And then I come inside and make sure that all of the things that I can see from inside are double checked. So we cover each other's backs, because sure enough, I'm going to forget something somewhere. I just stop and get busy and leave something open. So subtle preparation is have a system of double checking. And when you learn all of those lessons and get to be my age, that's why you double tie your shoes. Keeping your shoes in a nice basket, not just tossed around. Similarly, I like to have the electronic power cords available, but visually contained. And what the heck? We've had these things for 3 months. I'm not keeping the tags on them. Yes, I like to keep my scissors child safe. Consider that when you're storing items, that you would want to nest them. See, there's already one here. Then I can put another one in there, because when I purchased them, I bought them with nesting in mind. So that doesn't, but this one does. Meaning that I can get more storage out of that same space. You'll do the same thing with pots. See, here's a pot with a lid nested with another pot nested inside here. That same principle gets used even when you're storing things, see how they're nested? Fresh made bacon, what a treat. And then you can put it up into the hole and stick it in the back. See? And then these can't fall out. And they happen to be kimchi jars that I replaced the lids from Walmart. And then, as I said, it comes off the list. Yay! I think important detail. This is close to the center of the trailer where the water tanks are. So this is where we decide that our house water for drinks and other things go. As close as possible to the middle of the trailer. This you might not expect. This is a garbage can at the end, cut into the countertop. Well, in order to keep the knives from falling, I got some leaf guard for the gutter. See this at the bottom? And just molded it so that the knives don't poke a hole through the plastic, but they actually stick in the space. Spatulas are something that I use quite a lot around here. Some of them do not come off. Some of them do come off. And those that do come off, look carefully. See this? That is stuff growing on the inside. Gross. You gotta bleach that, Daniel. And I have found that bleach crystals are pretty cool because they're not liquid. And you can just put a couple of them down in here and down the sink, and so they're pretty handy rather than a liquid. And they store in a vertical space along with all the other things. I try to be sure to get a lot of soap suds or liquid detergent in there because that's a great deal of oil that tends to coat the inside of the gray tank. So be sure that you use a generous amount of liquid detergent. I have a collection of these fleece shop towels that I really like because they wring out almost thoroughly dry, and they are really excellent at cleaning up. A mobile lifestyle has lots and lots of things that you have to do, because when you ignore them, there's consequences. And it's similar to your body. You can ignore all kinds of subtleties until they become regular symptoms. And if you continue ignoring that, there are consequences. And what you would not suspect is that before you use the toilet, you have to step on the pedal, which is down there, just a little bit, and fill without draining to the right level. That way when you sit down, you're not in the water, if you know what I mean, but there's enough water that your stuff is in it. Okay, too much information. The other thing that you're gonna do all the time when you flush is rinse and brush. You get to see everything down there. And finally, to Airstream at home, you should find some little sachets and do the little drop it into the black hole. In my mind, I heard one of you go, "What? Sachets?" Well, these are biological enzyme sort of things that you put down in your poop. We call them orange pills. We go through a couple of those a week, depending on how often you dump. If you're keeping your water pump off because your battery's getting pretty low and you don't want to drain the battery further, but you want to cool off because it's 95 degrees, you do the navy thing. In this case, it's a modesty curtain at both ends, see, from the bedroom. And because you've taken your resources seriously, you have a half to a third a gallon. You split it up, some for the toilet, right? No pump. Some for the shower. And you get to cool off in a relatively private space. Yeah, oh geez. Okay, maybe you should warm that up in the sun, Daniel. Oh, yeah, affirmation. Oh my gosh. Okay, that is really cold. Oh, don't take it straight out of the back of the truck. You're grateful for the cooling off, but wow, is that a shock. Knucklehead. Hey, can I have a towel? Try not to make this mistake. That is juice going up to the antenna. You can see the little red light is on. That's power. That got bumped with a book, I guess. Turn that off. Draining power without needing it for an antenna. Hi. Subtle. One of the small things you do incrementally when you think about is that when you want to recharge your devices, you have to wait until you have abundant electricity. Meaning you can plug in your devices when you are on shore power. So maybe the way to do this at home is to pick a particular day of the week and go around your entire house and plug in all of the things that you want to recharge. Get in the habit of thinking the recharge at a particular point of your week. That'll put a discipline in place, at least mentally getting ready for being mobile. So I get into the battery box about every 2 weeks or so, depending on the temperature. When it's kind of hot, they tend to boil off quicker. Okay, look at that. All three of them are down. Now the solution we're working on is full lithium, moving from the outside to the inside, but that's a whole project coming up and we're not there yet. But in the meantime, we're using 200 watts of solar briefcase to charge 200 amp hours of battery, but they're wet cells, so you can only use half of that. So we basically drain that down every single day. The idea of being off-grid, being self-sufficient, is really terrific. The challenge is that you can only collect solar during certain hours, right? From about 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you happen to be moving during that time, that's kind of difficult. So let's think about this for a second. I need to get more of this solar energy into those batteries and do that while I'm driving. But look what I got up here. So if I move that stuff inside the Airstream, then I can put this up there while I drive. Oh, that's an idea. It's over 90 inside. You can see me sweating. This is all going to spoil again. I just had to throw out all the food and go to Walmart and replace it. And so it's quite the challenge. Trying to overcome a very simple little factory recommendation, and that is Don't the hell let your $130,000 Airstream go out the door with 2 stupid wet cell batteries when you've got an electric only refrigerator that used to be propane. Okay. That's me focusing. What am I grateful for? Here's my switch. I am grateful that look how much room I've got to put this in. And I'm got a solar panel that I can actually test this with. And I'm driving on the road from Boise to Twin Falls, and I got a place to stay, which is the golf course tonight. Wow. That's a whole different emotion. So this journey with a purpose, this whole idea that I'm trying to convey to you about putting yourself out there, allowing those challenges to expose places where you can mature, not just get old, right? I'm going to take Angelina's advice and really start working. No, I'm already doing that. Yeah, you are. Affirmations. You are already doing that. Keep it up until it becomes a habit like her. And that's me talking to my avatar with my corpus and a fly on my leg. Yeah. So that's an interesting data set. Yeah. And there's the fly. I got to get him. See? Told you. Bonus probandi. Where is he? I got to get him. Oh, God. One of the subtle interruptions that I haven't minded happening at all was somebody passing me and rolling their window down and doing all kinds of hand motion and going. So I just pulled over to find, yeah, I had left this open when I got these blocks out to work on the solar thing. So, yeah, you don't mind some interruptions, right? You get Airstream panorama windows to be sure that first thing in the morning you can wake up to the trash truck. That's not what you'd expect. So during the rest of the day, you can open the windows and enjoy what view you might have. Yeah, that's a train. Right outside that panorama window. Sometimes you'd like to just sit with the quiet and write or reflect or, oh no, that's when a semi-truck, refrigerated storage, will pull right up beside you in a no parking zone and park. Not so subtle. One of the subtleties of a personal expedition that you might not expect is when you get to a point of realizing you've got to be content with your own company, with the thoughts that are in your own head. I don't think I can make this stuff up. Harvest Hosts has a wonderful program where you get to stay at golf courses. Do you know how early they start their maintenance? Wow! Have you ever wondered why retired people wake up so early? Could be because there are some people that start work very early. And why do we get on the road so early? Could be because the places we get to stay start really early. And just so that you know, it's not a fluke, but that this seems to be the busyness of most golf courses. The new fleet of golf carts arrived today. My onus probandi. Look at earlier episodes. I could barely handle an airplane flying. Boy, talk about expectations and having to adjust the focus of your thinking. This is a good skill, not just the awareness, but now the next step, the discipline to make it a habit. I'm making good progress. A personal Everest is an expedition because it's a journey of self-discovery, right? You can plan on fate, life, delivering challenges and opportunities for you to really observe who you are in the core and therefore to make changes. That's the wonderful part about being on one of these journeys and documenting it all along the way. I have revisited the home I grew up in a few times. The most that I could believe for myself at that time was to remodel our barn and maybe live on my own. So I've gone about dreaming in this place being a home to now actually having that place as a home. Wow. Now look, I'm in a 30-foot Globetrotter, and I'm able to pick when and where and how and with whom I want to work, and the story I would like to share, and the points that I'd like to make. It's been an amazing journey. It's required an understanding of subtleties and really learning to listen, not just hear. Part of the events you wouldn't know from what you've seen in this episode is that I have had to throttle my top strength of achiever in order for the situation, the circumstances, the place and time for me to finish this episode. See, I was hoping that all the golf courses would give me the quiet, so I made the effort. I showed up. No, there were intrusions. I then planned on stopping at the Bonneville Salt Flats and boondocking there for a couple of days. No, the fire intruded. And now here I am in one of the quietest places I can imagine, where I was on my second Trans Am, Panguitch, just north of there, a lake I never visited. I'm at the right place at the right time to finish the episode. A subtlety that I'd like to leave you with is to encourage you to be more committed to your success than you are afraid of your failure. You see, Angelina's son, Chris, was more afraid of COVID than he was committed to his best effort. He didn't go to the hospital in time. I hope that these subtleties, I hope that these little ideas get you thinking. The greatest expedition you'll ever undertake is that journey to self-understanding. Thanks for joining me in this episode of SCOTOMAVILLE. I really look forward to hearing your comments, reading your comments. You know what I mean.